Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I will be recommending workplace romances. I will link a playlist down below that has all of my romance and just general book recommendation videos that I've done before. If there is a romance trope or subgenre that you want me to do a recommendation video on, please leave that down below. I'm just going to jump into my recommendations today. I have a fair amount. Most of them are kind of like office type of romances. Also, a majority of these I did read years ago, so my memory is kind of foggy on some of them, but for the most part, I do remember enjoying all of these, so even if they don't necessarily completely fit the workplace trope, they're still great recommendations. The first one that I have to recommend is Under Her by Samantha Towell. Wilder works at his family's company and they end up hiring a CEO behind his back. And Morgan just so happens to be a girl who hated Wilder back in college. This is actually one of my favorite books by Samantha Towell. I really liked the characters and the romance. I thought it was really fun. And I just remember really liking the male character and thinking he was different than most male characters that I read about. Then I have We Shouldn't by Vi Keeland. This follows our female character who was having kind of like the worst day ever, and she's late for her new job, and she runs into this guy in the elevator and they kind of have like this intense meeting, and turns out he is her new competition at this job. They have to compete for a position. This reminded me a lot of The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, but it definitely took a very different turn. I would say it had a little bit more of like the vibes of The Hating Game, but it definitely was very original and had some very different aspects. This is probably like the only book that really stood out to me by Vi Keeland. I just really enjoyed the characters and the romance, and it is probably like one of my favorite workplace romances. Next, we have Faking Miss Right by Claire Kingsley. This follows Evelyn, who is Shepard's assistant, and he ends up needing a live-in girlfriend, and he proposes the job to Evelyn, and they end up having this fake relationship, but they also work together. I really enjoyed this. This is actually one of the first books by Claire Kingsley that I ever read. Obviously, I've read a lot of her books now, and this one still kind of stands out to me. I did really enjoy it. Sadly, I never continued with the series. I do eventually want to, but yeah, I thought this was a great workplace romance. The next two are kind of similar, which I never really realized until I was grabbing these two, but we have The Favor by Suzanne Wright and The Contract by Melanie Moreland. Both of these follow CEOs or like bosses of a big company, and both female characters are the assistants, and they end up getting into fake marriages. The male characters need to prove to people that they can be kind of like a family man, and they ask their assistants to marry them. I love the whole marriage of convenience slash like fake dating, and these oddly were both similar, but I love them for both different reasons. I enjoyed both of these, and if you like these type of romances, I highly recommend both of them. I also would recommend The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. This follows Lena, who is a wedding planner, and she was actually left at the altar. It's been a couple of years, and now Lena has to work with Max, who is her ex's brother. He is like a marketing expert, I guess, and they end up having to work on a project together. Traditionally, published romances are kind of hit or miss for me. This was definitely a hit. I liked the characters and the romance, and I liked how it had a little bit of a forbidden aspect because it's her ex's brother, and I don't know, I liked the dynamic, and I liked Lena's family as well. Lauren Lane has a bunch of workplace romances. I feel like a lot of them kind of blend together for me, so I'm gonna try to recommend the ones that actually are workplace. Huge Deal, which is the third book in the 21 Wall Street series. I believe the male character is like a banker type businessman, I guess, and Kate is his assistant. Some of the books in the Oxford series by Lauren Lane are workplace romances. The main premise of this entire series are men who work at a men's magazine. Irresistibly Yours, which is the first book in the Oxford series, I believe is a little bit more workplace. If I remember correctly, it follows Cole, who works at the men's magazine, and Penelope, who works at the women's magazine, which is like their competitor, I think. I'm pretty sure. I feel like I barely remember this book, but I do remember liking it. I also do recommend the Sex, Love, and Stiletto series. However, I don't think any of the women in that series fall in love with men who are like their coworkers. But if you love the whole like business workplace aspect, you will definitely enjoy the Sex, Love, and Stiletto series, as well as the Oxford series and the 21 Wall Street series. Overruled by Emma Chase is one of my favorite workplace romances. This follows two lawyers who fall in love, a DC offense attorney and then a criminal defense attorney. This is also a friends with benefits situation that blossoms into a beautiful relationship. I love this book. Then we have a couple of R.S. Gray books that are workplace romances. The first one is The Allure of Julian Lefray. I read this book years ago, so I barely remember it. All that I know is that I think it has to do with fashion. It takes place in New York City, and I believe it is friends to lovers, and I think the female character has to report to the male character like he's her boss. We also have Cold Hearted Boss by R.S. Gray. This follows our female character who starts working at this construction company with a bunch of men, and obviously she falls in love with her boss. I'm pretty sure R.S. Gray has more that are workplace romance related, but those were the only ones that I could fully remember that were exactly workplace romances. Then we have Womanizer by Katie Evans. This is technically the fourth book in the Man Whore series, but this is a standalone, and it follows a very mysterious billionaire playboy, and our female character is the intern at this company, and she falls in love with the CEO, who also just so happens to be her brother's best friend. Then we have Irresistible by Melanie Harlow. I don't really know if you technically would think that like nanny romances would be kind of like workplace. I mean, if you think about it, the nanny is working for the single parent, so I guess it's kind of workplace. I don't know. I really love this book, and if you do consider this workplace, this is one that I would highly recommend. It follows our male character who's a single dad, and he works at this company. He is the CFO essentially, and Franny is his boss's daughter and also his new nanny. Another one that I have to recommend is Hero by Samantha Young. This one I also read years ago, so I don't fully remember, but I'm pretty sure the female character works at the same company, but I think she has like a different immediate boss, but he's like the CEO. Oh god, I really should reread this. It's been so long. Alexa has like a very dramatic family history, and then she meets a man who is as damaged by her father's mistakes as she is, and Alexa must help him. The last two I'm going to recommend are very popular, obvious ones. We have The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. If you don't know what this is about, it follows two people who compete for the same position at their job. This is one of my favorite workplace romances ever. I love Josh and Lucy so much, and yeah, this was such a great book. And then lastly, I do recommend Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. This is hate to love, friends with benefits. Actually, not even friends with benefits. The male character works at his family's business. He's kind of almost the boss, and our female character is an intern. It's so fun and dramatic and literally just smut, but I love the series. I recently reread it, I think like 2 years ago, and I don't know, there's just something so fun and addictive about this book and the rest of the series. So those are all the workplace romance books that I had to recommend today. Let me know if you have read any of the books that I talked about and what you think about them, or let me know what books you recommend for workplace romances. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!